empty. I was just about to step back into my office when I looked down. To the right of my black pumps was a large square envelope on the floor. My name was written across the front in beautiful calligraphy, reminiscent of old letters I'd seen in many an archive. Calmer now, I picked up the envelope, turning it over in my hands. It was sealed with a glob of red wax into which the stamp of some sort of bird was imprinted. An owl or a peregrine, perhaps? I trailed my finger over the wax. Charmed. How antiquarian. Closing the door behind me, I returned to my desk, found a letter opener, and ripped the envelope open. I read the text once, then flipped it over, looking for a name. There wasn't one. Strange. I glanced at my box of belongings, then returned to the invitation. Someone was inviting me to visit Robbinsville, North Carolina, the location of my college. And they wanted me to find something for them. No mention of what that might be. So much secrecy. What was it all about, and should I go? I had no idea who was inviting me, and no clue what I was supposed to be finding. I picked up the last item on my desk, a calendar, and chuckled. A quote from one of my favorite movies coming to mind. It was Friday. I didn't have a job. I had nothing to do. And every reason to accept this invitation. My gaze returned to the card. 1,000,000 reasons, to be precise. I picked up my box, gazed around my office. No, not my office, for the walls were bare, desk clean. No sign that it had ever belonged to me. And I headed for the door, wondering how soon I could get a flight to North Carolina. I'd gone to college in Robbinsville, and I knew someone there, my grandmother, and she was due a visit. I breathed in the scent of honeysuckle as I stood on the porch of my grandmother's home, tiny butterflies fluttering in my stomach, wondering if I was doing the right thing. 3 days ago, I'd been in D.C., hair in a bun, dressed professionally, and feeling like I owned the world. But after packing my bags and closing up my townhouse, I was in North Carolina, and July was as hot and steamy as I remembered it. My grandmother's home was a large farm home built in the early 1800s with a wide wraparound porch, whitewood paneling, and angular green roofs snuggled in the middle of a patch of green, a small portion of a 12-acre farm. But her plot of land, where she lived, grew her kitchen garden, and had chickens strutting around, was 2 acres, fenced in with a pretty white picket fence. Beyond that was a large red barn and several fenced-in pastures that used to house both cows and horses. My grandmother had been so welcoming when I'd called asking if I could come for a visit. It felt good to be home. Robbinsville wasn't actually my home. I'd grown up in Northern Virginia, but this place, this small town 30 minutes northwest of New Bern and lying along the Neuse River, had always felt comforting to me. My heart thumped against my chest when I heard the muffled sound of feet coming towards the door. And then it swung open. My grandmother, a slight woman with wavy white hair pulled back into a tidy bun at the nape of her neck, pursed her lips, deepening the fine lines around her mouth. A light-skinned black woman, her face was covered in freckles, as was mine. We also shared red hair, or we did until her hair had turned a coppery brown while I was in college, before going the snowy white it was now. Achromotrichia, unfortunately, was the fate of all natural redheads. Hair follicles stopped producing the required pigment, so that the hair simply lacked color. I suppose that would be my fate too, unless I decided to dye my hair. At 30 years of age, I hoped I had plenty of time to deal with the loss of a hair color that had been both a blessing and a curse. She planted her hands on her hips. Well, I will be.